Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the final episode of our Wanderhome miniseries. I'm the Reverend Sarkon. My name is Will, and I'll be your storyteller, your guide for this final episode, as it were. Last time we met with our group, we got to see a different side of the Haith. We got to see Sprawlside City, a massive conglomeration of buildings and houses and businesses, much different from all the other places we've been to. We got to see a couple of new faces, as we've always gotten to see, but we got to see that Thistledown, trickle-down economics, Thistledown finally revealed his feelings for Milo. We got to see the Ladybug innkeeper is a bear of an older man who is just the funnest person to be around. We got to see that Dodger was visited by another little god to kind of replace the one that he gave up for helping at Kelleran's Point. And we got to see that life is ever-changing. Life never ends. It evolves. It moves. It always continues. But tonight is a special episode for our little crew because they don't know anything about where we're going. A little behind the scenes for everybody watching. These lovely people got to choose kind of round robin style what season and what place, what space we were playing in. For tonight, I've chosen everything. Many in the Haith have come to know Nora's Hollow as the retirement location. The town sits on a fjord overlooking a seascape wonderland. Though the forest of petrified trees leading up to it shows the signs of conflict, broken weapons litter the grounds, scraps of armor pepper the landscape like gravestones. The roar of the Hollow's main attraction, a massive waterfall that breaks the fjord into steps of smaller and smaller waterfalls, can be heard like a siren's call. And the hollowed out husk of a tree in the center of the town stands as a silent guardian, making a home of the hollow giant are tiny beetles just slightly bigger than a finger or two. And they have been thought to be extinct, but they are thriving here in Nora's Hollow. Traveling up, what sights catch each of your attentions?
The tree looks like it's breathing.
Okay. What's the name of the tree?
Nora. I mean, at least that's what I've been told. Maybe it was named for an actual person that was here, but Nora's Hollow, the tree that's in the center.
Okay.
The little beetles that cover it almost form a layer over the entirety of it, where you can see individual ones walking around from time to time, but otherwise you just don't see the bark of the tree. And as they rustle and move amongst themselves in indecipherable ways to casual observers, the tree looks like it pulsates and breathes.
I like it. Anybody else notice anything as they're coming up?
Oh, well, what you also notice from what you would also notice from the beetles is a good portion of them can actually fly. And they fly in close bunches. It's almost like a family. So these are families. This is the family of beetles that have that distinction of being able to fly. So they fly in close proximity to each other, similar to how birds fly in unison. And they tend to hover, and as you notice, they tend to hover over the ends of branches, almost looking like there's bushes on trees. Similar to the way that it pulsates on the bark itself with the beetles that are on Nora. You also notice that almost the leaves themselves are breathing because these are beetles.
Okay.
Dodger makes note that the beetles they come out and they fly out because they've never quite seen a beetle as big as Bailey, the one he rides on into town. Not sure if it's a older brother or a cousin or a long lost relative. They're, I mean, as much as we can understand. It's similar. He's probably never seen beetles that small that weren't infant versions of what he grew up from, and they weren't even that small. Bailey will, when they do fly close, she will kind of flutter her gossamer wings a little bit, not to scare them, but almost in communication with them.
It's actually the whole picture that stands out. How everything flows, moves together, how it's all in harmony. It's this quiet, subtle understanding of how it all works, how it flows, and how it's all brought together. It's a full picture.
As you come up to the hollow itself, in one direction you'll see a small group of kith, almost looking like they're being taught to defend themselves. The teacher of this exercise is Victor, and his students, I use the term loosely, are more exuberant children than actual warriors. Who is Victor to the group, and which one of his students stands out to each of you?
Well, as far as a student that sticks out, I would probably point out the one that is the most graceful, which is, this is not a baby, but this is a small, childlike kith that's actually a swan. That moves more like a crane, if anything. And you can see the fluid motion going from one position down to another, raising the arms up. It's almost ballet-esque in terms of fluidity when it comes to that, which immediately makes me start writing down. Start going with my beacon, just start taking notes of this, trying to make sense of a stanza or two. As far as Victor's relationship to me, this is the first time that I meet him. But I will say that he seems to be getting the attention of these children, of this young kith. Kithai? What is the plural of kith?
Kith?
It's just kith, right?
Yep.
Kuth.
No.
No, it's too close to something else.
Yeah, kith. So anyway. But yeah, it's just seeing the patience is the biggest thing. The amount of patience, knowing that not all the kith are paying attention to him, but he is still taking the time and for the ones that are paying attention. So that is, I can see that is at least a great attribute for a teacher.
One of the young kith training with Victor is a teenagey toad
Mm.
that, in contrast to the swan, is making, big, excited, explosive little movements like a toad does leaping. The sword only ever flings out at maximum speed and then is slow to come back and move into the next position. And though this isn't anyone that Sal recognizes, he thinks back to the turbulent days before leaving his home and people training in the same kind of way, thinking that they have power with a sword to make change, putting that explosive feeling behind it.
Does it make you miss home?
No. Maybe it makes me miss what it was before that.
It's with the raccoon kid, the little one that goes around and it's just dodging everyone, trying to learn how to sneak and dodge and kind of almost like skit through people's legs to kind of tap them behind. More of like trying to be a rogue than anything else that makes Celine kind of laugh.
There's another Ram student there. He's not quite participating. He's moved up onto a rocky shelf that, if you know goats, well, how the hell did they get up there? Dodger will pull up and tie Bailey up to a fence, and he'll follow the young goat up to that ledge and sit with him, and also share some dried snacks that he has and the thing.
There's a little meek voice that comes out of him. Thank you.
You're most welcome.
I like your beetle.
You can say hi anytime you want.
What's his name?
Bailey.
Oh, that's a good beetle name.
Hmm.
How old is Bailey?
Oh. God. Tara doesn't even know that answer. I don't know the exact age, but he or she is a young adult.
Oh. She's pretty.
Thank you. I'll let her know.
He starts to munch. And the moment that he kind of starts to lose himself in the food and kind of staring wild-eyed and daydreaming towards Bailey, there's a thwack, a little wooden sword on the top of his head, right between the horns. And he kind of spits up the mouthful of snack that he had, and he immediately stands up and slides off of the little slope that he's on. And Victor will say, and now you go back to your lessons. Okay, sorry. Nice to meet you. Thank you for the food.
Nice to meet you too. I'm Dodger, by the way.
Oh. What is this kid's name, Dodger?
Nope, that's Donald's character's name. Hold on. Kevin.
Another Sal.
I'm not a Highlander. There can be more than one.
There could be more one Sal.
The his name is Sal.
Sal has to kill him to get his power.
You.
The town of Sal's. What do we see about this Sal? But we had to see Sal about the food. Yeah, it's a different Sal.
That's my cousin. You need to see my other cousin.
Yeah.
This is also Sal. Sal.
Mm-hmm. This is Sal. Sal meets Sal. but Victor will kind of pat Kevin on the back and then just turn his attention towards you, Dodger.
Mm.
It has been some time.
Yes. It's been too long, friend.
I see you still have Bailey.
She will be with me until one of us is no longer on the road.
How unfortunate for her. And he smiled and kind of opens his arms.
Dodger will hug him.
You have missed much.
Tell me all about it.
The war has found its way here.
That's unfortunate.
It has even been worse for us since it's a drier silt than it has been in some time.
Mm.
We are fortunate.
That would explain. Sorry, that would explain your trainees.
Mm.
Mm.
We have seen not full forces, but there are stragglers that have left the front and have tried to make a home in different lands.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything I can do?
For now, no. Your presence is gift enough. Are you here for the meal? The banquet?
I am.
Good.
I've been looking forward to it. I have some things to give out.
Oh, good. James has been toiling over all the food making.
I'll have to see him after this then. And actually, before I forget, and he'll run over to Beetle and he'll get a small wrapped package and heads back over to Victor. Hands it to him.
Oh,
This is for you, friend.
many thanks. Traditional payment still applies, yes? Cup of coffee, some cake.
That would suit me just fine.
Perfect. If you'd like, and he points to a little area where you see that there's two kind of guards, very loosely guards, a panda and a raccoon. And they're keeping the little beetles away from all the gourds, the pumpkins, the squashes. And occasionally you'll see someone come over, pick one, and then go over to a table and start carving on it. And all of you will see now that there are different gourds laid about. Their tops are off to the side, and inside each gourd there's a little candle. And they have different faces, different writings or symbols to the old and forgotten gods. But it is a clear sign that you are in the harvest festival. Under the shade of the hollowed giant, all of you will notice a band practicing. And sitting in a chair with their backs to you, leading the merriment of this gathered group of musicians, is James, who is bouncing in his seat. What instrument catches your attention about this band? And who is James to you?
Let's see, for Dodger, Celine's spoken about him before, a little bit. And having never met him, the description and the vibrancy immediately matches what he's been told.
It's been a long time since I met. So, do you want to go?
No, go ahead. No, you got it.
It's been a long time since I met James. Celine introduced us not too long after we first met. And, I didn't know people outside of home could play such music. Because that's the kind of thing that you never think of when you haven't traveled very much. How everybody has their own home. And wherever James is playing, dancing, feels like you're home with him. Can even make Celine dance.
I will say that James, it perks up Thistledown's Thistledown perks up because seeing James, or rather hearing James, actually excites him more because of who he plays with normally. I know that he's part of a band called, the band that he's in with is a band called the Meadow Larks. Let's go with Meadow Larks. And the reason why this sticks out to me, it's very bluegrassy type of music, is the person he plays with, his name is Conway, which is a yellow canary that plays on... He plays on what looks like a ukulele until you get close enough to realize it's actually a banjo. But it's tuned up like a ukulele.
Conway is running around right now. He's not playing with the band, but we'll get to him when we get to him.
Got you.
Yeah.
But yes, I'll update it to, I can hear that sound coming from that instrument.
Mm-hmm.
That James or whoever's playing with James is playing, which I only know one other person that plays that. So the music actually interests me a lot for me to go forward.
Yep.
James is James. Always will be. Always has been. He's the only person who has ever really gotten close to Celine since her last love. Only person who will get that close. And she tries not to talk about him too much. Just once in a great while.
One of the band members will suddenly stop as he sees this kind of gathering of people coming over, and he'll motion. And you see James kind of turn around in his seat, look back at you, smile, and then he reaches down and he grabs this gnarled kind of shillelagh, for lack of a better word, and he uses it to help himself up. And all of you will notice that he is missing one of his legs. But it doesn't stop him from hobbling over, smile from ear to ear, and just stopping in front of Celine before acknowledging the rest of you. He smiles, and he's like, "Do I have something on my face? You can tell me. Do I? I was eating cake earlier."
Yes, right on the tip of your nose, and she'll boop him.
Thank
you okay?
Yes. I'm just leading the band for the Harvest Festival. Are you staying for it?
Would you like me to?
Of course. All of you are welcome.
That's not what I meant, but okay, that's fine. When did the shillelagh come into play?
Oh, he looks down at it. Oh, silly of me. I keep forgetting that some people don't know.
Yeah, I haven't seen you in a spell.
Yeah, the last chill. Unfortunately, I took a tumble into some ice, and unfortunately, I spent too much time not worrying about something I should have worried about.
Really? James, you promised me you were going to take care of yourself. The only reason why I said okay and left you where I left you. Are you telling me you can't?
I've got a stick, and he holds up his shillelagh, and you see him wobbling, and then he puts it back down and kind of leans back into it.
She'll actually go in and support him. You promised.
I know. I did something that I'm not proud of, but everything turned out for the best.
How so?
And you see him kind of nod in the direction of one of the little toad that had gotten Sal's attention in the fighting lessons. That young boy unfortunately fell into some ice, and I was the only one around that could reach him. And pulling him out of the water, I unfortunately lost my own footing, and things happened.
Do you need help?
No.
You're saying no. Do you mean it, or are you being kind?
Both.
Fine. Would you like me to assist you back to your chair, or do you want to meet everyone and talk to them too?
Yeah, of course. Who are these people? And he points at Thistledown. I think I remember you.
Yes, it's been, I want to say, more than just the last harvest festival since I last saw you, but it is a pleasure to see you, and it's a pleasure that with you comes music still.
No, of course. The dancing is slower now, but still, it happens. It's more calculated.
Yeah, well, I can see that you haven't lost a step, to be honest.
He nods and kind of claps you on the shoulder. These two are new faces, and he points to Dodger and Sal.
Right. So this is Dodger. He's got some bad pricing at times. Sorry, I had to.
A Kith joke.
Dodger Woolsey the Third. It's a pleasure to meet you.
You as well.
And I'm sure you remember Sal from ages ago.
Oh,
It's been some time.
It has been some time. There was another of your kind that came from a far off place. I apologize. I seem to have confused the two of you for a second.
Oh, here?
Same little drum that you have.
Doop, doop. I take out my drum and realize that I can, the sound of the waterfall, actually get water sounds out of it like I do. Like, oh, this is a good place for the drum. Where can I find them?
They should be around. They've started to tend to the beetles.
Oh, that must be a sight.
It is. They swarm him every time that he brings his mushrooms around.
Carry him away?
Not for lack of trying, but the beetles are tiny, and He is well fed. Conway makes sure of that.
Well, I'm sure we'll meet at the feasting. Is there anything I can do to help?
If you want to, and he'll point over at one of the other kith that is drumming,
Or actually,
or
sorry,
has a drum.
I was
Yeah.
taking a wild stab at where we are, and I said it wrong.
Mhm.
But I mean to spend a token. Is there anything else you need?
Oh, you want to spend the token?
If I've guessed the right time of year.
See.
Or are we at the candle feast?
You are not at Candle Feast.
Oh, okay, never mind.
No.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I thought it might be a little bit of a fun to try to guess at where we were.
Yeah. You're close, but no. He'll point
Well,
at the drummer,
mechanism. Yeah.
just to keep the question relevant. If you could give him some pointers on keeping pace. Rutherford is not the best. He has 2 feet and he still trips over them. And you see him kind of do a little circle, clopping every so often with his shillelagh. He moves fast.
Oh,
I believe that's how I started dancing. It was horrible. It's bad. I feel for him. That's why I don't do it.
He'll look at the group and he'll just kind of mouth, "There are other reasons."
Mm.
James, I don't have much in the way of food, but I have brought spices.
Oh,
Feast, if you're interested.
Conway's more for that. I can make porridge in the morning and I can put hot water into coffee. But as far as a cook, I feel that all of my skill might have gone with my leg.
No worries.
At least I'll make porridge.
I'm also learning where the line is for when I can joke about my missing leg and where I can't.
Mm.
That has been noted with this group.
Sorry.
You need assistance crafting some sort of something better than a cane, maybe a crutch of some sort.
Never thought of it. I've gotten so used to this. I call her Eustace.
Well, seems like Eustace is doing a fine job.
No complaints so far.
Hmm.
And I do threaten it with a willing knife every so often.
Gotta keep those walking sticks in line.
This is a man of taste and education.
Mm-hmm. Don't forget culture.
And culture, yes. And speaking of emerging from a steepled building, a handful of children come rushing out, much smaller than the ones practicing with Victor. And there is this somber female voice that calls after them to make sure that they take their lessons to heart, that they enjoy the festival, but that they are safe. And Miss Trukey is this teacher. She encourages them. She is thoughtful. But what is it about these children that catches your attention as they scurry off? And what vibe do each of you pick up from this teacher, Miss Trukey?
They're cheerful. They're happy. They're even though they're happy to leave school, because who doesn't, they're waving and can't wait to see her again. She's kind, stern, but kind. And she always makes sure that she's yelling at them to get home first before they do their homework and not do their homework as they're going home. So that at least they can get it right the first time and not the squabbly mess of writing at home where writing as they're walking, like some people we know who are writing poems and we can't read their chicken scratch.
Yeah.
Fair.
Dodger up. But
Chickens can write perfectly well.
You know what I mean.
I mean, poultry can read my poems. I don't know why owls can't, but
yeah.
Because you keep having who as a question.
all right. Strap on in, guys. This is going to be very punny.
Yep. Yeah, Dodger also notices the how happy the kids are. One of the kids is a parrot kith, and he is dead on, going in circles, and his head is bobbing back and forth. Like, he is so excited that he was in school, now he's out of school, and everything is exciting to him.
Nice.
The teacher, he notes that she's extremely protective. She views herself as the guardian of these younger kith. She watches each one. None of them escapes her glance for very long.
What I see is it's not really running. It's more of a somersault roll is what catches my attention. It's a panda. And you rarely see pandas in this area, so seeing this kith, especially a young kith, doing rolls as a panda, and once this panda runs into what looks to be another person, another kith, can't see where he's going, stops, and as he opens up, you can see that his hands have yellow paint, like as though he was doing finger painting. Yellow and red. Yellow and black, a little bit of white. And you can see on the shirt, like the actual shirt that he's wearing, you can see that where all the paint went onto. And it's very crude, but it just looks like a large bumblebee on his chest. And if nothing else, it makes me smile when I see that.
From the distance, I recognize her voice, Truki. It's the same as it ever was when I was one of those little kids back home. And even though there's the cacophony of all the children yelling and stumbling and wrestling and dancing and bobbing around, all of that fades away, and I can just hear the two of them that are still singing a little song that she must have taught them in class, because it's just the sounds of home. Once they've dispersed a little bit, I won't be able to contain myself but to bound up to her.
What was her favorite subject to teach? Did she have one?
Music. It's, the proper form in the hierarchy of home would be that poetry have a higher position as like a serious art than the music. But she recognized so much of the tradition that we had of just taking any poetry that we found to be the best and putting it to music. And so what becomes the difference then other than you get to dance to it. And so she didn't teach me how to play the drum. She's just not very hands ain't made for it. But she taught the importance of the drum, the importance of hearing the sounds of the waters of home and what generations of our people took them to mean and how we lived by them.
You bound up. She clicks her beak very rhythmically. Something
I
that
stop a little bit short.
you would know is a sign of joy for her.
Stop a little bit short and try to put on my formal airs and greet her in the most traditional way that I can think of, but that I can't think of a good.
And she nods very solemnly.
I'd
Young,
heard someone had made it out here, but I never thought I'd see you again.
that makes two of us, young Mr. Salto. Are you well?
What? As well as any of us can be, so far from home.
Still playing music?
I scooch to the front of me the drum and tap a little tap to it when I can.
Good. Good.
You teach them of home?
No, not of home, but I do teach music. This place has its own rhythm, its own song. I teach them that.
I can hear it, but it's harsh, heavy. That waterfall really feels like it pushes everything aside and throws it away.
It will take some time, but if you stay, you will see that the waterfall is more of a heartbeat of the land. It is the rhythm by which the rest of the song adheres to. How long will you be staying?
If I can give a question for anybody at the table.
Sure.
Where is Nora's Hollow in relation to some of the rest of the heath that we've been at?
Good question for the table.
Is her like metaphorical? It's the heart of the land. Maybe more quite real. Are we in a kind of like central place up in this high dead tree and fjord?
Well, you've been to 3 places, and there's 3 other players, so from one of the other 3 places we've been to, I think everybody choose a place and then tell us where Nora's Hollow is in relation to that place to you.
Okay. Well, I would say from Sprawlside City, considering that is probably the place I've frequented the most. Obviously, I frequented that place the most. Sprawlside City is actually just if you go through past the mountainside, the elevated area of Sprawlside City is on its way passage to Hollow, which Nora's Hollow, I think from what it's been described to me, or what I remember from my past travels, is reaching over the mountain down into a grotto surrounded by mountains, I believe, is the way it feels to me anyway.
Say for Dodger, it's he doesn't have there is a direction for him. It's just the next place on his journey, on the road for him. East, west, south, north, it doesn't matter. Like, it could have been next for him after Kelleran's Point, but his road took him to Sprawlside City instead, and then on to Nora's Grotto, Nora's Hollow. He, as Victor had mentioned, he remembers it being greener. But things are changing. The climate's changing. Temperatures are changing, and it's a little dustier than it used to be.
Actually, for Celine, this is normally just after Catherine's Point, or Kelleran's Point. And for her, it's a circuit, it's a circle, it's a constant travel, because you never know where in that circle you have to go to when you're taking people as a firelight. I could be at Kelleran's Point and have to go to the sprawling city. Sometimes I go from Kelleran's Point to here. It's all in the path it lays, really, for her.
Sal, I will give you a token for asking the table a question. So I put you at 2.
And for Sal, this is just the furthest place from home he can imagine. Home is a low-lying wetland that's filled with small rivers and marsh-type lands. And so not only is it far in how it feels, there's no tree like that in home. But when Celine and I met, that's we're on the furthest side from her wandering circle, compared to where my homeland is.
She kind of ruffles her feathers a bit, and you can feel that crisp air that's switching out from this season into the next one. Are you staying for the Harvest Festival?
Of course. Have you taught any of them how to cook?
No. I find that our rotund little friend, and she points over to Conway, is much better than I am. I have taught them to carve the gourds for the Harvest Festival.
Oh, how fun.
And in one of the windows, you will see that there is a whole bench of just like pumpkins and squashes and different gourds that have been carved up, and they each have a little candle that the kids lit before they left off. Each one has a very different face. One even has a little bit of its entrails, the insides, the innards, kind of hanging out of its mouth like a tongue.
It's so funny to see something so familiar but so different. Good to see you keeping these things alive.
Of course. It's, as long as we carry home with us, it's never gone.
Hmm. Well, shall we move towards is the feast is tonight, right?
Yeah. And
Did you have specific plans? Could I join you?
of course. And as the long shadows are cast as the sun sets, we'll see humming as they finish up setting the banquet of food, the smells of which could have easily been picked up down the road. There's a robust canary called Conway. He is equal parts chef and brewer, and there are even barrels of something special that bear an artist's rendering of his face on the lids. He's trying to balance setting up the tables and lighting the candles within the gourds that have been set aside for the harvest festival. Who is Conway to all of you? And what do you think is his favorite food and or drink?
For Dodger, Conway is an old acquaintance. They're familiar with each other. Being a peddler, he has things that a cook and brewer need. So they have met on occasion in different places. Dodger does try to bring some sort of roasted seed. Conway seems to like pumpkin seeds, roasted pumpkin seeds. So he tries to keep them on hand for in case he sees them.
Celine's known him on and off as her travels. And he usually turns people over that need to walk, that need to find themselves, or they need a firelight, and usually Celine's there to take them. But Conway listens to Celine. One of the few people she'll actually not like open up to per se, but will express concerns and show just a little bit more emotion than normal. And honeydew, usually like a honeydew or honey tea that they like. Not hot, lukewarm, steeped with a tiny bit of sugar.
Sal, on a former encounter with Conway, was fortunate enough to get a small blessing from Dulcet, one of the tiny gods that he holds dear to him. And I can kind of see a little bit of aura that, once you've gotten that little touch of that magic, you can sort of tell that he's around here somewhere. And it's been a long time. Oh, no, we ran into Conway not that long ago. It hasn't been that long, but, it's a nice feeling to have whenever we pass by. And it's funny that 2 or 3 times that, we could have just passed each other on the road and not even noticed. I'll notice because I can feel that feeling that Dulcet's nearby. And can always pick out that, oh, hey, Conway, he's passing by us. And get to say hi.
Yeah, Conway is somebody that has been a facet besides my parents in my life, because Conway has been there not only for my mother but also for my father. Dulcet, which is actually resembles a grasshopper. So it's really easy to know when Conway's around because you can hear what seems to be a tiny violin playing. Almost a fiddle, actually. A fiddle playing. You know that it's coming, that Conway's not too far off. And, actually, as he's setting up, he's not, even though he used to be a smaller canary back in the day. Now, less movement caused him to be rounder, especially now that he's cooking a lot more, seems. But he does have Dulcet and Stun, the other small tiny god that he has. Stun, you can barely see him. He's like a flea almost, a little bit bigger than a flea. However, anything he taps into, literal taps onto, can move as much or as little as he wants. So you can see that what looks almost like magic of these tables being moved and these gourds being hopping onto the tables is actually these tiny gods helping Conway over because he doesn't move as fast as he used to. But I can definitely smell by the time we get there that he's made dessert, or at least dessert's being done, which is boysenberry. Yeah, my mom's fave.
Mm. You notice that one of the little gourds with a face on it kind of stops mid flight, and very creepily the head kind of slowly turns in your direction, and then the gourd falls and Conway just barely manages to grab it. What are you doing? Just dropping gourds left and right. Someone worked hard on this stone. And the little minor old god kind of pulsates and flies over and just kind of starts to circle you. And Conway's eyes get wide and he puts the gourd down on the table. Look at this. I haven't seen this face in some time. He waddles over.
Oh, I meet him halfway as he walks up, and I literally just bear hug him. It's been far too long, Conway.
Oh,
far too long.
Put me down, you big bird.
Can't even wrap my wings around you anymore.
Oh, you gotta try harder than that. Then I haven't grown that much. You're looking thinner. You still using your feathers for quills?
I start noticing both my arms, and you can see that it looks like I'm molting on my arms. Which, I did get a box. Somebody gave me a box of feathers, and I slowly, like you can see, I turn behind my head just so I can see Celine. Just like, yeah, maybe I should stop doing that.
He hops up on a bench just so he can be closer to your face. I imagine Conway's shorter than you.
Oh yeah, considerably.
And he just kind of pushes you forward with his feathers, kind of getting you close. So, tell us, how's Milo doing?
He's doing great actually since the last time I saw him. He's definitely light on his feet from the way I left him.
And how'd you leave him?
So am I. Yeah, let's not get into those details. Let's just say that
Did you
let's
practice
just say now
aftercare?
that I'm sorry?
Did you practice aftercare? Did you cuddle with them when you were done?
Oh. I can't get anything past you, Conway.
It's been a long time coming.
I look at him, right, at his clothes. Um, I'm surprised. I understand that you've been cooking, but where are the sheets? And referring to sheets of paper, actual like song lyrics. You know, I I tend to always see you with new music on you, so to speak. What's changed?
Well, things have changed ever since this last chill. We had a bit of a scare with some of the children, and I've had to take more of a hand in helping than I have in playing music or singing.
I see. That's why your banjo, your ukulele banjo, is with someone else at the moment. Then.
I have tried to train him as diligently as I could, but he doesn't have the gift, and he kind of ruffles his feathers in front of you. He's heavy-handed, as it were.
Yeah. It didn't sound like you, but I could hear the off tones from the frets that it was your instrument at least. But boysenberry? Now it's almost as though you knew I was coming.
Milo did send a letter, which is why I asked how he was doing.
I want to use a token.
Okay.
I'm gonna add something into the world.
Okay.
Conway, I realized that Conway, when I asked him about the music, he didn't. He was very shyly trying to dodge it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I bring that up. And he realizes, as astute as I am as observation for poetry, he points out to the back of the actual setup where he has his little cottage, and next to that is what looks to be an art piece, and it is waves created by paper that do swirls coming from the ground up, and these swirls flow out to the sides in different directions. And those sheets of paper, all when you get closer to it, have lyrics to music that Conway has written. And you can see that it's different color paper. And most of the stuff that he did in his early works, you can see is blue, goes off to the sides. Some of the stuff that is very bluegrassy, you can see is in colors of green. And there is in the center this purple that's just almost blooms out of paper like flowers. And written in those lyrics is something that he wrote that reminded me a lot of my mom. And made me, and when I look at it, it is his lyrics that I remember Conway singing, but the way that it's written, the handwriting, it's actually my father's. And it's actually signed. And then on there it says, "It starts when you came into my life. You vowed someday you'd be my wife. Sweetheart, I thought the world of you, and you made my world of dreams come true." And I just sit And it's the first time that I realized that how deep my dad was actually was. How I always thought that it was opposites attract when it came to my mom and my dad. But I think that it was music that actually brought them together. So I just sit there and I just start crying. Weeping, really. I'm
Yeah, he
not
sits with you.
And I turn over to Conway. You're telling me that is this? And I start looking at the sheets of paper in purple. I go, were these all written by him?
Every last one of them. I threw in a word here and there, something to make it rhyme better, or to fix his timing. He never could count syllables correctly.
And here I thought my dad was a bird of few words.
Maybe vocal. But he was prolific with the pen. And then he leans in with a feather, as it were.
I look over the sheets and I start reading some of the words, some of the writing that's on there. Trace the stars in silver ink taught me how a poet should think. And I start looking through, Conway, I never thought me and my dad had anything in common. Especially after my mom passed, so I realized we both had the same muse.
Mm. There are some out there who call them the tiny and forgotten gods, and there are some of us that know what they really are.
And I can hear the fiddle playing on my shoulder, knowing that Dulcet's there. And then all of a sudden I feel my leg kick out from under me as I fall onto my side, knowing that Stun was trying to play music.
Yep.
Did not know his own strength.
And you see that as you kind of look around, about to get up, the rest of the people have kind of let Conway have that moment with you and have finished setting up the banquet. And you can see the sun is just this sliver of orange and red, like a fire on the horizon. It snakes up the waterfall, making it look almost like a flaming tornado of just water and oranges and yellows and reds, so deep. It's like a dragon clambering down this fjord. And you'll see the same kind of hue coming from the road. And suddenly people start to gasp and they'll point. And that's when the screaming starts. Because the forest is actually on fire. And it's making its way towards the hollow. And people are scrambling, picking up children here and there, trying to find some semblance of what home means to them. And some of the elders are just asking people to be calm and to not rush, to be thoughtful, to help where they can. What worries you in this moment? Each of you.
Place is just so dry. I can, you know, feel it in my skin. It's been hurting since I've gotten here. The sound of that waterfall is ever present, but somehow this place has just been so dry. And that fire is coming here. There's no way. There's no way that it doesn't. And I just scramble to look for anybody that I can help to do whatever they're doing in the moment. Because I know that, I can just wander away. This isn't my home. But why wouldn't I help anybody who I can find?
Well, first thing I'm thinking of is literally what's just around me. And at that point, you can see that this place was built. This place is built to be function more than form. And that all I can do immediately is just grab Conway and start grabbing any pots, any pans, anything that would be suitable for water to grab to try to see if we can at least create an area or at least a dowsing point, something that could try to slow down this flames to let other people can escape. Depending on the size of the flame, there's a group of Kif, including myself, that would try to, in unison, try to use flap our wings, but it's not really going to do much considering what's coming.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more of just scrambling for anything that can help with at least slowing it down. But I make it selfishly. I make it a mission to at least grab some of those purple notes before I start doing this.
So this is not Dodge's home. It's someone's home. It's someone's home. There, he has Dodger has what is basically the equivalent of some sort of not a farm animal, but a beast of burden. So what he does is he begins unpacking, just taking things off, and then leading Bailey over to the entrance to the town. And what they start doing is, beetles have really strong legs, so he begins guiding Bailey to start kicking dirt to make a fire break. It's only him. I don't know how much we can do.
Yeah.
But that's if it can slow it down while people do other things, that'll be enough for him.
God damn it. The first thing is that Poppy goes up in the air. Goes in the air and starts to lead people away from the fire safely, calmly, carefully. Celine goes to James and says, "You're coming with me now. And your friend, too, the little one that he saved." She'll go, "I'll take care of you. But we're going now.
Okay.
I'll lead everyone. I just need you by my side."
Sure.
She'll kind of gently put a wing under and try and help him hop fast.
And he does. There's urgency. And you see there's a group that want to hunker down inside Nora's hollow. Inside the hollow of Nora itself. And there's a group that has helped to create a fire break, following in Bailey's example. And it seems like there's only a handful that want to give up and leave the hollow itself. But Celine has a group. And James is part of them. What group does everyone want to speak to? Or listen to? Or guide? If any.
I'd like to get my way up and closer to Nora. Being struck by the majesty and otherness of all those beetles.
Mhm.
I don't know, and it doesn't seem like those who are heading to her for safety might even, maybe they don't even know themselves whether that's actually a safe place to be. But I want to spend a token to listen to the shared wisdom of the many small and forgotten gods and ask the table what they tell me.
Okay.
And what I'm thinking is that in this moment where I'm just tapping into that beauty that I saw of Nora and the tree, it's little voices out of the tiny beetles, and they're as much as the inhabitants of this village as everyone else, and they seem to be a force themselves.
Okay. Who wants to take it first?
Hmm. And
Doctor speaks beetle,
what
right?
it is I'm sorry?
Doctor
beetle
speaks
voice.
beetle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do it in a beetle voice?
No, don't do that.
No. I was about to.
I know you were.
Mouths.
That's why I had to stop you.
You could have got Ringo Starr or something.
Mm-hmm. Really is considering that this is lack of a better word, a swarm of tiny beetles. Their advice is that, or the advice that you would hear, and it sounds as though it's a group of them saying it all as one in unison, almost like a hive mind speaking, and to you is It's all for one and one for all. Stronger in numbers. It's all of us to rise up to the occasion or for us to fall. End of the day, the choice is up to us. But this is no longer a singletary matter, for this is not just one that's facing the world, but all of us. So we should handle this accordingly.
Everyone's idea and concept of home is different. While this may not be your home, it is someone's home. If you aren't willing to fight for someone else's home, do you have any right or ability to fight for your own?
On that sentiment of fighting for one's home, it's more of Celine's opening up her doors, bringing people in, welcoming them to the road, welcoming them to not just adventure, but a way to escape what's going on for the moment, offer hope, offer a chance of escaping, but at the same time possibly coming back to rebuild if they can, or if it's a possibility. So it's her opening arms saying, come with me for the moment. I'll keep you safe.
I can see now why the different villagers, even other travelers like us, were being drawn to Nora, as the beetles are, opening up passages for them to just enter into the great hollow of it. And where before it was just a steady breathing and wind rustling of fake leaves of these swarms, now it seems very intentionally to be signaling, come in, come to us. Together we'll be stronger. And I do what I can to try to wave others who haven't noticed either, now that I can see it.
I will probably say at this moment that Thistledown is going to be standing outside of the hollow as people are starting to trickle in, making sure that there's no one left out. It's more of a knee-jerk reaction because at this point he doesn't want to lose anybody.
Yeah, Dodger does what he can at the entrance. If some of the people helping were too tired, because it's a lot of work making a fire break, he will bundle them up on top of Bailey, and they'll start herding people over towards the hollow. Keeping an eye out on the way for people who are stragglers.
The three groups become two, and it's people who are going into the hollow and people who are leaving with Celine. Is Celine still leaving?
That's up to Poppy. Poppy's her light. Poppy tells her where to go. It's always been the communication between the two of them since they were children. So, does Poppy go into the hollow? My question to you guys.
It's evening. The light from the fire is still outside the city, outside the town. The hollow isn't used for housing people. There's no lights in there.
Little Spark. I've never known Little Spark to not guide the way for someone. And I mean, last thing I think Little Spark would want is people not or is people being lost when he could help.
Has a dissenting voice that Poppy might follow. If we would never abandon somebody who needs their way guided. And if there are the stragglers that simply refuse to go into Nora, but do want to head out onto the road and get as far away as they can, then Poppy may feel compelled to help guide them if they otherwise won't be able to find their own way.
Considering how conflicted I would imagine Poppy would be. Yeah. Considering how conflicted Poppy would be, I would venture to guess that, I mean, if there is any hesitation coming from helping one side or the other, I will reach into my pocket for the last little bit of food that I have to bring Poppy closer, and I'll just whisper something. I'll just whisper into his ear. I go, "You've helped us throughout this whole journey for as long as I've known you. We'll be fine."
Joe looked to James. Do you want to go in? Or do you want the road? It's up to you.
Yeah, and he'll look down to where his leg should be. In a different life, I would have gone with you to the end of the world, I think. Place is here. He'll put his hand on your face. Take who you can.
We'll stay.
You're sure?
She'll just tell Poppy to come in. She'll go, yeah. I'm not leaving you behind again.
And Poppy is the only light in the darkness of this hollow. And so she has to fly up a ways to kind of give everybody enough light to see. But she's working overtime in the hollow.
I still have my staff with my light too, so I'm making sure there's more.
And the hollow is large. This is a tree that easily could have been one of the first on the Heath. If not the first. And as the fire comes closer and the heat starts to be felt, something magical happens. Almost like the pulsing that you saw coming in and the breathing of the tree as you approached for the Harvest Festival. the little beetles come together to create this mesh of bodies, this little wall, almost like they want to protect you as well. And you'll see flickers of yellow and orange and red as some of these little beetles just give up their life essence to protect all of yours. And you'll hear the wood creak, snap. But the bark holds. The base holds. And slowly the top starts to fall away. And the orange, red, and yellows and whites of the fire start to dissipate. And slowly, like spilled ink, the purple, blue, black ink of sky starts to claim the top again. And the roar of the fire is replaced with the roar of the waterfall, the heartbeat of the land. And when the first of the kith of Nora's Hollow tried to investigate what's happened, the moment a hand touches the beetles, they disintegrate. They turn to ash. And outside, everything that was Nora's Hollow is a husk. A shadow of the husk that saved everyone tonight. And you emerge. And what in the scene that has been left behind gives you hope? What is one thing that each of you sees that gives you hope?
Children. The little kith, small kith, the group that did not leave, that emerged from the hollow. You see their family, their parents, still stoic. But it's the kids that begin to salvage what they can little by little, finding books underneath rubble, pots, pans, things that can still be used. No crying. No crying. It's more like they know that this is too much for just one person. It's almost as though they felt that they saw their family, the elders, save them. Now it's time for them to do something. And while we're still all reeling from this, it is the children that actually take the approach to start. Start seeing what can be done as far as what we have left to start with, to go with. And I think that causes, at first, confusion, for they obviously don't want their children to be affected, something that just happened, but it's more like they're taking an example, showing what we need to do.
At first, a bunch of the adults are panicked and trying to hold themselves together because there's so many children about. But, oh, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna rebuild? What is this? And they see how the children just... It's like, oh, new home. It's a bit dustier now. And they're just finding all the bits that they can. And it, dawns on them one at a time. It's, oh, well, we've stored so much of the preparations for the feast inside of Nora. They start bringing out, all the goods. Even a few little gourds are still around. Somewhere, there's a big table waiting to be pulled out of the ashes still. I think the feast might still go on.
Celine would never say it out loud, but it's the stage. It's still there. It hasn't moved. People can still dance and play and find some kind of happiness out of this. And Celine will actually take James back to where he was sitting, because it's a weird thing how fires kind of miss things, especially a chair. And she will gently make sure he sits down. And she's going to have Poppy sit on his lap so he can't move. And she will pull out her fiddle and she will play.
While the training is different, Victor is still in charge of his small squad of youths. They're helping. They're trying to find tables that still work, chairs that still chair, because chair's a verb. Dodger's ram friend is back up on his perch watching, not helping. Dodger is up there with him sharing a snack. The thing that gives him hope, the return to the routine is what gives him hope. It's just tragedy's over. Let's get ready for the next one, sort of thing. So, yeah, he's he finds the resilience of the Kith most hopeful.
Conway is the first to emerge with some of the stews and soups that survived. Even the pie survived. And they start handing out bowls. They find some bread in an oven that wasn't burnt to a crisp. And they start to hand handfuls of it. And slowly, you're not sure where it starts, who started it, but one voice becomes three, 3 becomes 5 and 10 and then the whole town. They start singing a harvest song. And yes, this was tragic. But hope glitters to the surface, bubbles up in everyone's hesitance, and then acceptance, and then relief. And I think this is a good point to call our story for the night. So since this was the first time we've played this, I want to get everybody's feedback on Wanderhome. And if you need a moment after that, you
Yes,
can.
Yes, please.
We can keep sending gifts.
I loved it. It's a great system. I kind of like that there. I mean, I do really like that anyone can kind of jump in as a storyteller or a guide.
Yeah.
And everyone is just a part of the constant story. It's tough. You got me with the Beatles at the end. I was fine until the Beatles, and you got me with the Beatles. But yeah, no, I would. I don't know if I'd play this again immediately, but I would definitely be down for someone else running it and going through another story. But that was a lot. It was good. It was really good.
Okay.
I'm just gonna say it. Emotional damage, my guy. I am you really don't understand how much I'm holding it together right now. I mean, it's a great story. Thanks. No tears yet. But at the same time, it's a great way to tell a story without having to use shaky bullshit. There goes your monetization. It's great for just running a story without dice and just building world building as well as character building. And it just makes for a nice flowing story, and it gives us pause to think because we're not rushing to point A to point B. We're making that moment count.
Right.
And it's not only just being led by the storyteller, but we're all leading each other at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a true collaborative storytelling that's actually quite refreshing and really, really nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we touched on this before in the last episode. Was that whether or not whether it was streaming or we spoke afterwards, was that this opened a lot of your mind when it comes to yes and when it comes to the improv.
Yes. Yep.
And it's very freeing in a sense, because I will say that I did not have that thought of using that token when I did, but it just came to me at that moment. And I think that it's moments like these little moments that are what we interpret into the story immediately affects what everybody else wants or wants to actually contribute to it. And it's just building, like you guys were saying, it's just building the world around us. Instead of immediately going into it, we're trying to immerse ourselves, like we're helping each other immerse ourselves into a storyline that we're trying to create. I think that's a really interesting way of going about it.
I think part of one of the strengths of the yes anding is that you don't necessarily have to have the answers to your yes ands. In a more traditional game, there isn't, you tell me how this plays out. It's, there's like a responsibility of agency that can be narrowing. You can instead trust, say, oh, well, I'm not sure how this would play out, but I want to hear, everybody else who's also telling this story. What is this story happening? You know, when I don't have a clue for what it might be. I think it would do really interestingly well with rotating cast.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If every week it was, you know, two of the same people and two people swapping in and out, and it's to reinforce and really bring forward that the journey along the road. I mean, maybe you have two in a row where we're in the same place, but once you move on, you know, Sal didn't get to see the big city. He had somewhere else to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we happened to all meet up at the end of the road.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And,
Dodger
you know,
wasn't there
Dodger
for the start.
didn't. Yeah,
I
exactly.
wasn't. Yep.
No.
Exactly.
And so we got a little bit of that, but you know, I could see this being just ongoing,
Mhm.
but still one shot, because what does any place have to do with any other place?
Yeah.
You know, the world that you're creating is the characters themselves
Mm-hmm.
and how they are, you know, how they grow through their journeys and the things that they see and, you know, the people that they meet.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's not places that really drive this story. It's the actual people.
Mhm.
Not just the people, the actual PCs, but it's the actual kith. Now you're actually giving life to an entity, to a person that essentially, you know, now they're in this world. Whether or not you may see them in the future, who knows? Like, for instance, these beetles are now, like, I already have like a thought in my head that the next time, if we ever do play this, that we're gonna run into like Ember Guard beetles or an Ember Guard swarm named after the group that saved, you know, Nora's Hollow. Things like that.
Yeah. The Haith is a big land, and it's breathing and existing. There are little touches that I tried to incorporate, so it all felt connected. Like when Conway asked about Milo,
Mm.
but like
Yeah.
anything that came after my pointed question about each of these characters was not prepared. Just so you guys know. So this was as much a yes and exercise for you as it was for me. Because I just had like, here's where you are, and that's it. My hands are clean. And I just had pointed questions where I was just like, what can you tell me about this person? What can you tell me about that person? What's their favorite food? What did you notice? Because you are, in this setting, I think you are the ones really doing the heavy lifting. More than any other system that I've played so far.
And you know, maybe it bears pointing out for those who don't have, you know, haven't read through the book of it.
Hmm.
You know, the rules to it are basically just, you know, some very light guidance on suggestions of what to do with the tokens, and then little bits of infrastructure of, well, here's the name of a season and the name of a week in it, or a festival, and some kinds of things that might happen. Pick amongst yourselves what's happening while you're there.
Yeah.
And, you know, the high level archetypes, so that, you know, it doesn't end up having to be from whole cloth to come up with whatever you want, but not there's no spreadsheet that we're filling out with
there's I love that there are like generic questions and comments you can make that'll give you a token or cost you a token, but each playbook has questions that you can ask and ways to get tokens or use them, but also each season, like each little month or week or festival that you're a part of has, it's like, you know, like for this one was Firetop, and I believe the thing that you could do is say get out of the way and give everyone who does a token. Describe what enormous thundering force nearly strikes them down.
Mm.
Mhm.
Yeah, but that's another way that you can earn tokens. It was fun for me, and I hope that you guys had fun too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and leave it to Will to figure out a way for us to get sadness in a game where there is no combat to us.
There are options that we could have chosen consciously for
Mhm.
chromatic, choices and
dramatic
backgrounds that
effect,
we could
yeah.
have put.
No,
None
but
of us
Will has
did.
no, but Will has to turn around and do emotional damage at some point.
You guys had 3 episodes of happy-go-lucky fun time.
And now he's like, oh no, I got to get the chunkla of emotional damage on you all.
Every one that you went to had something emotional.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, you started off with a funeral, so let's
I
not
mean,
say it was happy-go-lucky either.
That's
So
where the bar was
let's go
set.
with that.
But I mean, if not for the moments of levity that we
And
got,
yourself?
if not for the moments of levity that we got, we would have never met Julius Beezer.
Oh,
Julius Beezer.
That's a
will be
gift
making
unto
a shirt.
itself.
he could have shut up and saved everybody.
Yeah,
Yeah,
nope.
I will. I wrote a poem about Julius
you
Beezer.
wrote a poem
Yeah.
to give us a poem about Julius Beezer.
Hold a sec. Let me grab it.
Yeah.
Jesus
Honey
Christ.
dripping off my thorax, drip, drip, drip.
Ooh.
Dear God.
It's called Julius Beezer, Proud and Grand.
Nice,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
nice.
Julius Beezer, bold and I swear, I am so hacky when it comes. I was so hacky throughout this whole entire one shot.
I love it.
Julius Beezer, bold and bright, a bumblebee of pomp and might, striding gold so large and grand, he floats around, proud across the land.
Oh my God.
Love
That
it.
describes him.
Hey, I
Chef's
am
kiss.
making a Julius Beezer shirt. I will make a Julius Beezer shirt. This will be done.
Just the moment I see a bee and like a toga and the little laureate crown,
Oh
Yeah,
my
yeah,
God.
that's all.
Out
I,
of my
that's all it has to
head.
have.
Yeah.
That's all it has to have, and I'll know that's Julius Beezer, baby.
To bees or not to bees?
Bees are not the bees. At 2 Beezer,
Yeah, Conway Tweedy, bro. This was also a very punny one
Yeah.
shot. This
Yeah,
is
yeah.
also a very punny one shot.
I mean, Dodger's Beetle is named Bailey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
And I have bad prices.
yeah. So if you grew up with like the Sunday comics and the newspaper, you know who Beetle Bailey is.
Mhm.
But yeah, thank you guys for being a part of this. Thank you to the audience for joining us. I hope that you also had a good time. As always, let me give you guys a chance to plug whatever you're into. So we'll start with Junie. What are you up to? Where can people find you on the internet if you want to be found?
I live on the internet because it's easier. Like, you can find me on all the socials because that's where I'm at. I'm actually here too. I stream underneath Geneva Vinesh. I'm crochet because I was told that other things may lead me to places where I wear orange and I would not have Wi-Fi, which we can't happen because I like Wi-Fi and I look horrible in orange. Also, I am on McStappers, usually every Saturday night doing some crazy thing called Vampire. I'm not on every Wednesday like Will is for McStabbers. I'm on some Wednesdays doing either Dark Ages or Changeling, and then I'm here. So check one of the 3 places or go on the busy apps or the other apps to find out because I always list where I'm at.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah. Don, what are you up to? Where can people find you on the internet if you want to be found?
Well, soon enough, I'll be found right here again
Ooh, yeah, you will, baby.
for something. I don't know if if the schedules are found, but
Yeah.
we might be howling and furring and doing some shenanigans in
Yeah,
the Wild West again.
Werewolf is coming back in March.
Yeah.
We'll have a familiar face joining the group, so we'll have 5 again. I
Though he is dead, he lives once more.
I don't know if the group is ready for the 2 choices that he's whittled it down to.
Would we ever be?
Oof. I mean, one will be easier to deal with than the other. I'll tell you that right now.
For you or for him?
For everybody. But I look forward to seeing what he finalizes. I'll probably bring it up to him tomorrow. And Tara, what are you up to? Where can people find you on the internet if you want to be found?
Oh, sure. Nowhere on the socials. I don't do that stuff. But on Saturdays, I'm in Chicago with that lady up there, doing all the things. As a Nosferatu, who's
Secret
awesome.
Prince.
The Secret Prince of the City. And then on this channel, since this is over, I'll be playing at some point, I forget which day, a samurai, and in ancient kind of Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And then on Mondays, I'll be here playing possibly something redacted with the Salem Anarch Coterie.
Ooh, that's gonna be so much fun.
And then March is coming up soon too, and that's a whole other bag of cats. So
Yeah. Kenny, what are you up to? Where can we find you on the internet if you want to be found?
I mean, on social media, personally, you can find me on Mr. Underscore, which the underscore in between each word, on any social media platform. I'm gonna actually plug something different. You can listen to my music that I've been doing. If you like, if you like music that sounds similar to 90s alternative rock, then you would like Black Cat. You can find it as Black Cat Miami on Spotify. You can find it on TikTok, on Instagram, all the socials there. And once again, this is something I got to give a special shout out to the two people
Mm-hmm.
that, for whatever reason, whether or not they know what is going on. However, they did say that Julius Beezer was by far the funniest thing they've heard.
Best thing in the world.
it's so good.
Yeah. So so shout out to my parents that, better or for worse, whether or not they know what's going on, that they still listen out.
Yeah,
So
they're the best. But yeah, thank you guys again. As always, we take mental health on the channel very serious. So please, if you feel like you need help and you're watching live, there are phone numbers going up in our Twitch chat, so you can find the resources that'll help you out, whether you need to call somebody or you can text message. There are lines for both. If you're not in the United States or you don't do well with phone calls or text messaging, there is findahelpline.com, which is a link to help you find the resources in the area closest to you, especially if you're not in the United States. That's a fantastic resource for you. But just know that it is okay to not be okay. And there are people out there who want to help you, who can help you, and all that it takes is just that first step. This is the last chapter of our mini-series, but Wanderhome will be back. I've enjoyed it enough to try to figure out how to shoehorn it into my schedule. But Mondays, we kick off with our traditional schedule for Vampire 5th edition. Tuesdays are going to be for Werewolf the Wild West or Scion, a new game coming up, 1st edition. And then Thursdays are for Legend of the Five Rings or 7th Sea, depending. And yes, my Wednesdays belong to McStabber Studios, where you can find me playing all sorts of lovable scamps that are never in any way, shape, or form troublemakers at all. The troublemaking I usually save for Fridays when I'm invited to Kansas City, or if I'm invited to a Saturday game, because I have a character ready to go, baby. But as always, thank you guys. We'll see you when we see you. Have a good night. Be safe. Bye.